My screen and we'll get started with the program. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emily Marge and I'm the Veteran Services Associate for the We Honor Veterans program, and welcome to the Hospice Veteran Partnership Open Forum meeting. Just a few housekeeping rules first. This meeting will be recorded. We will be posting this underneath the Hospice Veteran Partnership webpage under other resources for now, and that's where it'll be located. So if you go on the top, wehonorveterans.org, top hand of your screen, underneath partners, click on Hospice Veteran Partnerships, and it'll be right there for you on our website. And of course, we have a bunch of upcoming events from partners and other HVPs and other hospices alike hosting virtual veteran cafes. That will all be on our events calendar, and Catherine should be linking that soon, I think. On the events calendar, it has a bunch of information. You can join, click, and like we were discussing earlier, you can see what other hospices are doing, other HVPs, and joining from your comfort of your couch, your car safely, hopefully, or just outside enjoying the outdoors. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Catherine Kemp, Director of Veteran Services, to give a brief overview of her journey with the Hospice Veteran Partnership Program, as well as we do have some guests from the Department of Veterans Affairs as well.
Well, thank you, Em. Sorry, I'm a little pokey in the chat box. I managed to get one resource link in there for our general HVP page. But if you want to link the events page, and then I'll link a few others throughout the meeting. Welcome, everyone. So glad you could join us. We wanted to have a little check-in of sorts to see how everyone's doing. You know, HVPs are one of those things that have been such an established part, and like we say, one of the two real pillars of the We Honor Veterans program since it began. But we know that things have changed over the years, and in particular over the last year. So we wanted to hear from a few of our partners, a couple in particular, and I'm going to call you out, Reverend Edward Teo in Texas. He's in San Antonio, and I know we have a couple of other HVP chairs on here as well. Just to get kind of a pulse check, see how everyone's doing, where we're at, and really kind of take a look at it if there's anything we need to be rethinking as far as hospice veteran partnerships go. And, you know, also just importantly, make sure that you all are getting everything that you need from us. I know we have VA folks joining us as well, and then hopefully a couple of veteran organizations too. But if Ryan or Scott, you are welcome to share anything that you would like as far as HVP goes. Ryan, I know that your background is pretty deep rooted, and I'm not sure that many people know that Hospice Veteran Partnerships actually started within the VA. With We Honor Veterans, even though many of our community hospice partners are the chairs of a lot of these partnerships, it was a VA initiative to begin with. So Scott or Ryan, you're welcome to say a couple of words. If not, no worries. Completely up to you.
Oh, can you hear my audio?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, great. Hey, sounds great. I just want to welcome everybody. This really is the heart of relationships. And Ryan, I think, says it best when, you know, a decade ago, you know, VAs were the brick buildings, you know, set off, and never the community and VA staff shall talk and actually get to know each other and work through all the challenges. And it's so nice, one, to have everybody on the call, but for Ryan to be here. And I just wanted to let people know that there is a very big initiative. It is top priority in geriatrics and extended care to build these partnerships, veteran community partnerships, as well as hospice veteran partnerships. So don't be surprised if you hear of even more people within VA being aware of a desire to partner with the community. And Ryan may have a few things to say also, so I want to turn it over to Ryan. And I didn't know if he might want to mention another name of a VA employee who I believe is on this call.
Sure, yeah. So hi everybody, this is Ryan Weller, and I'm the National Program Manager for Hospice and Palliative Care with the VA. central office, and I've been in this role for a little while now. But before that, for about 10 years, I facilitated our hospice veteran partnership in Oregon and Southwest Washington State. And so I feel like I'm with family here with all of you hospice veteran partnership leaders and coordinators and facilitators. It's just, and I know what a special role that is to gather hospice leaders and staff and to hear the stories that they all have about what this program has meant to not only to the veterans and their families, but also to the volunteers and hospice staff, that they get to put their energy into something that is so meaningful as the Hospice Veteran Partnership and the We Honor Veterans. Anyway, it's just great to be with all of you. And I want to introduce Jason Malcolm, who is a palliative care social worker at the Portland, Oregon VA. And when I left for central office, I handed the baton over to Jason to facilitate our Hospice Veteran Partnership in Oregon and Southwest Washington. And he's sort of our point person or lead in the VA regarding hospice veteran partnerships going forward. So Jason's here in the Hollywood Squares box there. You might see him. And anyway, Jason, if you want to say hi, feel free.
Yeah, hello. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Ryan and Scott and everybody on the call. I just thrilled to be here. When I found out that the Hospice Veterans Partnership component was a component of the job that Ryan had, and I would be eagerly trying to take it over, and just so thrilled about it because it's just near and dear to my heart, and working with hospices and partnering with community hospices in Portland and Southwest Washington and through the VA, and I coordinate those calls now, and it's just probably the favorite part of my job, actually. So that and seeing patients, but so thank you for having me.
Well, welcome, and we're so glad that all of you could join us. Yeah, going to hand it over to Em, but first, yeah, we did just want to reiterate that we're so thankful that all of you were able to join us today. And I know one of our big initiatives this year is just to get a good pulse on HVPs and how they're doing. And as my word, and I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I saw so many familiar faces, but my name is Catherine Kemp, and I'm the Director of Veteran Services here at the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization. Yes, there we are. So I oversee the We Honor Veterans program, and then I'm also the happy liaison between our team at NHPCO, our partners, and our good friends and colleagues at the VA, in particular, Dr. Scott Shreve and Ryan Weller. So HVPs are one of those things that are sort of one of those well-oiled machines that keeps on running. And it's funny because when I first started with NHPCO about 5.5 years ago, we used to have quarterly meetings, both with VA staff and our community partner liaisons, back in the dear Mary Davidson days. Unfortunately, these have fallen off the map, and I could take complete responsibility for that. But I want you all to know that we are going to get these back up and running, even if it's just, to dial in for a little bit and say hello to each other and see some friendly faces. We want to make sure that all of you remain connected. So, kind of see ourselves as a little charging station. So you can come in, join us, get buzzed up, and then go back out into your communities. So just wanted to let you all know that. But without further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Em.
So the first thing we're going to do this afternoon is we're going to take a poll. So I'm going to launch our first poll right now. And the question is, how active is your Hospice Veteran Partnership currently right now? So you can see it on your screen. I will pop up on your screen. If you're on the mobile, it should pop up as well. All right. Let's see. Ooh. Okay. The number's going up. All right. So I'm gonna went up again. I'm gonna end the poll right here. And I'm gonna share the results with everyone right now on the screen. So as of now, this is the responses that we got. 23% say the HVP is pretty active. we also have the majority of the question people answered it somewhat active, getting by, not active, and not currently part of the HVP. So for the 8 of you that say that you're not part of the HVP, hopefully this afternoon, you'll go ahead and go on the HVP roster and join one today. So I'm gonna stop sharing the results and exit. So before we get into like the main majority, like open forum discussion, I want to give like a brief, quick overview of what a hospital partnership is. I know Catherine eloquently and Dr. Scott Shreve and Ryan and have done a wonderful job with that. Here's like a quick, brief overview. So hospital partnerships are either a statewide or community-based coalitions with the goal of ensuring care is available for veterans and their families. So again, it's either community or statewide, especially now in the pre-COVID, post-COVID world almost, and current COVID world, we have the opportunity to do virtual meetings like we're doing today. So for example, if one part of your state is has like a statewide or local thing, you can definitely join the meetings virtually or by the phone or by Zoom or Teams, whatever platform that you want. Another important note is hospice and VA staff provide each other with information about what services they provide, who is eligible for care, and how to resolve issues related to referral reimbursement. So having the HVP, it makes you develop this partnership. I know partnerships are in the name. That's the whole part about it. It's working together in collaboration through the VA, other hospices, and other organizations as well. So who is part of an HVP? This is our circle of collaboration, I call it. So it has VA facilities, community hospices, veteran service organizations, and state hospice organizations as well. All collectively make a hospice veteran partnership. So I'm going to go into a little more detail. But however, first, I want to send another poll out. I know it's very poll heavy meeting on the next question is going to be about which participants are currently active in your HVP. So you can say community hospices, VA facilities, state veteran departments, veteran service organizations, or veteran volunteers. Let us know which majority are part of your HVPs. So a lot of people are clicking on this one. All right. Give everyone a few more seconds to answer the poll. All right, so I'm going to end it right here. A little more than half have answered. Perfect. And end poll. I'm going to share the results. So the majority say that community hospices have attended their HVP meetings or a part of it. VA facilities are around 41% said that they're part of their HVPs. Veteran service organizations and veteran volunteers have tied. That's a wonderful opportunity for your veteran volunteers and your hospices is to join the Hospice Veteran Partnership Program. Great, stop sharing. All right. Sorry, PowerPoint. Oops. Okay, so again, who is the HVP? Again, it's veteran associations, federal, state, county veteran services, community partners. Those can definitely be your local American Legions. They can be your Disabled Veterans of America. They can be any type of veteran service organization in your area or your state. The healthcare industry, of course, hospices, home health, hospitals, skilled nursing facilities can join your HVPs as well. The more the merrier, in my opinion. I think the more you have in your HVP will help you learn more about each other and expand your network. And here's just a few examples of who our partners have listed as part of their Hospice Veteran Partnership in the past. Again, this is a limited amount of information because there's a lot more. So again, American Legions counts veteran service organizations, your local high school ROTC group, and that's local military bases are also involved in some HVPs. military branch councils, Gold Star Moms, local veteran resource centers, state and local, Fisher House, the VFW, Honor Flight, and much more. And again, for folks, if they're curious on where to join HVP or have never seen the roster before, this is a copy of our most recent roster. You can find it on our website. And Catherine shared the link earlier regarding like where you can find it. Again, this is updated as much as we possibly can based on our contacts. So feel free to reach out. You know, if you're new, like levels 1 and you're feeling kind of lost, you know, always feel free to reach out to your HOPS veteran partnership. They're there to help you and expand your network. You never know what type of friendship and information you're going to find out from there. All right, so let me open up our third poll. Again, my apologies for another poll today, but we're poll happy here. All right, so I just opened up our new poll and I want to know, what is your goal as a hospice veteran partnership for the remainder of 2021? Do you want to recruit more participation, have more consistent meetings, host more community events, or you just want to survive 2021? I know I want to. All right. Let's see. Give a few more seconds for folks to answer the poll. All right, let's see. Okay, so according to our results, the majority of you want to increase your participation for your hospice veteran partnerships. This is wonderful to hear. I think that's really important. And that's both what Catherine and I's goals are, is to help you guys increase and recruit more participation of your hospice veteran partnerships. And that can be from your local VA facilities, that can be other veteran service organizations and fellow hospices alike. All right. So now after that brief overview, I wanted to step into our open discussion. So these are just a few prompts, but we really want to hear what you guys want to know. And we want you to share what you're doing. We do have quite a few hospice veteran partnership leaders on this call. So we really want to see what's going on. I don't want to call out on people, but I know Reverend Edward Teo is on here, and I want to see if he can answer this one question prompt I have. What do you wish someone shared with you when you started your HVP from scratch? So just a brief overview, Reverend Teo started his own hospice veteran partnership. He saw a need in Texas and he did it. And I would love for him to share his wisdom to the rest of the group if possible.
Well, I'm not sure how to answer that because I had a lot of help from several people. And when I got started with this, no one that I knew was doing it before. But when I called around to ask for help, Catherine, from yourself and some people from other states who had done an HVP, it seemed doable. And I figured that it was something that was possible in Texas. So I decided to start with it and ran with it, and here we are 4 years later, and we are very successful in what we do, I must say. We put on, I never wanted to go to meetings because you have a tendency to lose people when you do quarterly. So I kept it at monthly meetings for the purpose of retaining as many participants as possible. And the way we would retain them is that we put on webinars every month, providing education to the community, providing statewide and even national companies to share their information about how they help veterans and how they engage with veterans. And so that has kept our attendance pretty high. And we've been very active. Our board now consists of 12 board members from the community, from VA, and from hospices. We're trying to get our board membership up to 15. And I'm currently interviewing another one. I interviewed one this morning, so we're trying to get to 15 by next month. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to get more of the community partners onto our board. We had a lot of hospices on our board and we had VA, but we didn't have any community. So just in the last 3 months, we've recruited 4 more community partners. And it's really helping because we're getting kind of a vision from their perspective, what we need to do in order to become more effective, in order to help.
Well, thank you so much, Ed, for sharing. I have one follow-up question. You said that you do some events for your HVP. Do you have any up and coming events going on, or any events that you hosted this past year that were really great and you think other hospices, other hospital partnerships should do?
We had 2 major events that were planned during this year. The first one had to be canceled, and it was a statewide conference, which we have been putting on for the last 2 years. And so that was earlier during the year. And then the next one that we had planned was in September. We had a community symposium, community partner symposium. And this was something that I felt that was really needed. There are so many companies and there are so many organizations in the community that veterans and just anybody in general are not aware of, that they're out there and how to reach them. I'll give you an example. We have a company here in town called Texas Ramps. And we have several requests for people who need ramps, and they just couldn't get them because the companies that were doing them kind of went under during the COVID. And I accidentally ran across this company called Ramps and met the owner and started talking to him. So we partnered with him. I had him on a webinar and shared that they provide statewide services. They now have their hands full, and they just don't have enough to make all the ramps that they're getting requests for. But it's things like this that people don't know who to reach out to and who to share it to. So we were having a symposium in order to introduce all of these community partners to veterans and to families and to other auspices that we're trying to do.
That's great. And I know like hospital partnerships also as well create a bridge between hospice care, the community, and the VA. So you're continuing to build that bridge as far as it can be and connecting it to all different paths, especially the community, like the RAMP program. Like that's a wonderful idea. And that's a great connection that you have, because so many veterans will be impacted by that. So at the end of the day, it's really all about the veterans.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So is there any other, let's see, I'm looking at my list. Is Sue Gibson on?
I'm here, Miss M.
Hi.
Hi there.
Yeah, so I kind of want to ask you a similar question to Ed. So for your hospice center partnership of Indiana, Texas is definitely different than Indiana's location. So what do you hope that your HVP gains for the rest of 2020? Any upcoming events, or what do you want to improve on from the past year of 2020?
Well, in 2020, actually we were able to remain active even during being hit with the pandemic. We fairly quickly went to virtual meetings and maintained pretty much our participation. We started out a few years ago with 3 participants and have actually grown our HVP to over 100 members. So we're pretty proud of that. And we have we have partners from every aspect of the spectrum involved in ours. We actually had a statewide event planned where Opus Peace, Deborah Grassman's team, was going to come in and do a full day conference. And we had all kinds of volunteers and people wanting to come in and show honor to our veterans. And that was the one thing that got canceled because of the COVID pandemic. However, just in February, we were able to invite Deborah Grassman's team to come in and do a COVID caregiver ceremony for the healthcare providers that had been so wounded during the whole COVID pandemic. We were able to do that virtually and had tremendous feedback from that. So I'm hoping we do have another meeting coming up here soon. And I would like to see more participation from community partners. The state of Indiana encompasses 5 different VISNs. So trying to get representation from all 5 of those VISNs to be involved is probably a more accurate description of what my personal goal is for the HVP this year. We've got good partnership, but I would like to see the entire state, because I'm sure, as you know, just because you're involved with, and I don't, how do I want to say this? I don't mean this adversely. VAs are different, and the way people interpret some of the rulings from VISN to VISN is even different. So that has been one of the challenges in getting that education out there to our teams, is getting a full spectrum of representation. So.
Yeah. So a follow-up to that, is there anything within your HVP or that you see? I know you help a bunch as a level 5 region mentor, help a bunch of other hospices as well with their requirements. Like, how do you feel like the HVP community should be rethinking? Is there something that, you know, any ideas that come up? Do you think hospital partnerships should work closer with their VA facilities so that they can do joint trainings together, or any other examples?
You know, I think that's a really good idea. One of the things that's happening, that I see happening locally, the pandemic, just the effects of the pandemic itself on healthcare and the healthcare provider, it has just really strained the healthcare community because there's so many restrictions, and you know, when staff has been out because of you have a staff shortage because of the pandemic, and you know that's happening all across healthcare. And I think the HVP finding a way to support the healthcare provider at this particular time is a really good thing that needs to be done. Naturally, we always want to provide care for our veterans, but if your healthcare providers are frazzled and worn out, then they're not able to give or provide the quality care that they want to. So I know at the HVP I'm involved in, that is one of our goals of having that caregiver ceremony, was to try to help breathe new life and give extra support to our hospice providers, because it's been tough out there this last year for them.
I definitely agree, and I want to say thank you so much for doing that for your community. I'm sure many folks on this call will be thinking about doing that for themselves as well. So I want to open this next question to everyone on the call. Feel free to raise your hand or type in the chat box, and Catherine and I can look at it and see, we can say it out loud if you want to. Of course, in the hospice veteran partnerships, there's hospices being facilities, veteran service organizations, and there's obviously veterans in there in HVPs as well. Have you had any veteran feedback about any veteran-centered activities that you've done in the past and regarding your HVP, and what were the outcomes? Were they happy? Would they want to learn a little bit more, or was there high engagement?
This is Sue. I can answer here locally in Indiana. We have veterans that are coming to our meeting, and especially when we were able to meet in person, them coming up to me after the meeting is over with and just hugging me. And the thank yous that they are giving because somebody cared enough to do this, to have these HVP meetings, to try to build the bridges, to get the word out there about what is available. It has just been tremendous. It's been tremendous here. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else like to share anything? Oh, I see Melissa raised her hand. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, I just wanted to say something about the creation of an HVP. So I'm near Philadelphia, and the one committee that I found close to us was the Veteran Community Partnership with the Philadelphia VA. And we had, by the time I got on board, we had one meeting in person and then we had one virtual. And then I think as things got busy, we haven't had any. So I kind of decided to start, just from the contacts that I've made, to start our own. And when I went to the VA to say, hey, we'd love for you to be a part of this, they were very confused about what I was trying to do, and was I trying to compete with the Veteran Community Partnership. So there was a little education that I had to do with them about what an HVP was. I just am not sure how much they knew about hospice veteran partnerships or We Honor Veterans in this specific, this specific person. Not that the Philadelphia VA doesn't, but and I'm just starting to get them to kind of open up, and hopefully they're going to come to our next meeting. But that was a little bit of a challenge, I will say.
Yeah, I would like to relay this question to Catherine.
Well, thank you, Em. And I didn't want to point to someone who's actually in your neighborhood, but I know this does happen sometimes, particularly if there's already a VCP established. I know there were some efforts in the past, just because a lot of HVPs did later evolve into VCPs. And sorry, just to clarify for anyone on the call. So VCP is actually a veteran community partnership. I will say it's an HVP further upstream and more expanded. So while many of our partners found it really useful to get involved, for a lot of folks, it was a bit too overwhelming. So they decided just to stay more in the hospice realm and really establish those good connections with fewer veteran-centric organizations that were more aimed at their mission rather than, again, sort of further up the spectrum. Mm-hmm. I think in that case, occasionally this does happen. We can say from our experience, and I know the VA as well, typically reaching out, they are more than friendly and welcoming. Occasionally, for whatever reason, sometimes you will get a blank stare over the phone, if you will. And if that's the case, feel free to reach out and let us know, because oftentimes it is just a matter of connecting you with the right person at that location, and sort of digging a little bit deeper just to get you the correct contact, to make sure you are in touch with them. Because again, from our experience, sometimes the people that we have connected with who are trying to start an HVP. And Ed, please jump in if you want to share your experience about working with the VA in Texas. But they are more than open to it and welcome to do it. Sometimes it may take a little longer or may not be on a timeline you're expecting, but it does get done. I will say that. And I see Lisa has her hand up. I know she has a lot of experience with this as well.
Yes, thank you. I'm here in San Diego, and one thing that I have found helpful is to also connect with their public affairs department. Sometimes the different departments at the VA just need the blessing of their public affairs to know that it's okay to collaborate and involve the VA in their messaging. So that's my recommendation, not just to invite maybe your palliative care VA staff, but also at least initially to the first few meetings so that public affairs can also get familiar with who you are. And even to put the VA logo on your HVP brochure or Facebook page, you need their blessing for that. So get them educated as well. And then when they're involved and they're more familiar with you, that's when the other VA staff will be happy to participate in your HVP. It's just a comfort level.
Great, thank you. That's really helpful.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Great. Anyone else want to share their experiences or?
Yeah, this is Ed Teo. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? This is Ed
Yep, I can
Teo.
hear you. Yep.
Okay. Just a couple of things about working with a VCP is that VA is very protective of everything that they do, and they see those veterans as their veterans, not the community veterans. So the obstacle that I ran across is that because they were so protective, I had to show them that I was not there to heal their patients or to get a referral, but I was there to help veterans. And when I went there on my own from Kindred and approached them about starting an HVP, they were very reluctant because they said, we can't work with just one company. So I started the HVP, had it running for about 6 months, got about 7 other hospices under our umbrella, and then approached them a second time. And they saw that it was not just Kindred that was approaching them, but it was the community at large with all these hospices and community partners that wanted to work with them. Then they received me with open arms. They weren't so protective then because they understood that, again, we weren't there to steal their patients or get the referrals, but we were there to do exactly what We Honor Veterans is to serve the community at large. And it took about a year to get them to finally open up. After the first year, we had several doctors and people from the VA community recognize our HVP and started. We even put on a seminar that Catherine attended, that it was a citywide a seminar that we had along with VA, and it was a very successful one. And I'm hoping to do another one. But the other thing that I found out about VA is that they are so busy that they don't want to commit to a lot of things. And so if you can get them to commit to one event a year, you're doing good.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I just, Scott answered a question in the chat box.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Ed. And I did just want to reiterate that, each VA is definitely different, and that also encompasses all of the staff that you're going to be working with. I know sometimes we've heard experiences of people where they go to approach the VA, whether it's about joining their hospice veteran partnership or just wanting to do a one-off community event. And they're sort of met with a head scratch just because at times it almost sounds too good to be true. And also, as Ed was mentioning, it does depend a lot of times on the person you approach. So thank you, Lisa, for reminding us about the public affairs office. But coming in and making sure that you really are making that correct contact, just because I think we can all relate and appreciate to the fact that we're all kind of at, our cups are pretty full right now. So when something, when an extra project or initiative comes along, you know, sometimes it's just sort of easy to say no without really getting into the details of what it is. But once you do connect with that VA person, and they really do realize, you know, what these partnerships are and mean, it definitely becomes a lot easier. Yeah, and I did just want to reiterate what Scott was saying too, and that he said, I believe we are all challenged with how best to develop and maintain these effective organizational relationships. As the Department of Veterans Affairs purchases more and more community care, the veterans community partnerships are taking on a bigger role. Having said this, these VCPs are not exclusive of a parallel hospice veteran partnership that is more focused to this constituency. Yes, thank you for that. Janine, I'm sorry, I saw your hand was up as well. Oh, and you're on mute.
Okay, how's that?
Perfect.
Okay. So I just wanted to kind of going back to M's question earlier about any response that we've had from veterans. So our local Rockford Hospice Veteran Partnership, we didn't get a chance to do as much last year, obviously, as we have in previous years, but we always try to kind of break our initiatives down to education that we can provide within the greater healthcare community, but then also community events for the veterans. So last year we did do, we put care packages together for local veterans here in the Rockford area who are somewhat displaced and you know, kind of struggling a bit. And we have a veterans drop-in center in town that provides meals and other resources for the vets. And so we provided care packages. So we have about 6 or 7 hospices that participate regularly in our HVP. And we each contributed something, you know, kind of toiletry item, that kind of thing, to put these care packages together and then delivered them over to the drop-in center. And yeah, I mean, the response from the actual veterans who are benefiting from these is always so positive. We try to always focus on their needs and what they might be looking for at any given time, and whether that's information or actual supplies of things. So so we had some just great response from the veterans in our community here for doing things like that.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. That I love hearing what you guys are doing out in the community. It really warms my heart. So I know we did have a comment from Lynn Stone. She said that she participates with her HVP and they help with the local VFW. So they're actually hosting a Memorial Days event. Outdoors, it looks like they're going to be providing small crosses to put on deceased veterans patients. So that's like a wonderful idea that your hospital partnership can participate in. Like I know in the past, pre-COVID, our partners have done the Race Across America as an activity for their HVP. And I know Race Across America does all different things like local funeral homes and statewide cemeteries, and local cemeteries as well. So that's a great way to get your HVPs involved as well. All right. Does anyone want to share, if they want to, you don't have to, any events coming up in the future? I know the Hospice Veteran Partnership in Nevada has a bunch of virtual events coming up. I'm not sure if any representatives from their HVP are on the call, but their events are located on our events calendar as well.
Hi, I'll talk. It's Toby.
Hi, Toby.
How are you? From MGHS Hospice and Palliative Care in New York City. We're going to be having a vet-to-vet cafe that will be on May 26th. And it will be in tribute to all veterans who fell in action, as well as veterans from every era who are still alive. And we're very blessed to have several speakers. Actually, one will, it's also for families of veterans. So we have a widow of a Vietnam veteran who actually works in hospice, and she'll be speaking about what her husband's experience was, as well as two others. One who's a veteran who also was married to a veteran, and now does bereavement support for veterans and their families. And can't remember the other one, but it's going to be a very lovely program if anyone's interested on May 26th. And then one of the things we've been doing over the last several years has been a museum program for healthcare professionals to learn about the impact of trauma on Holocaust survivors and other traumatized populations. But this coming year, in alignment with Veterans Day and Kristallnacht, we're going to have a program on the Liberator and the Liberated. And we've identified a World War II veteran who was a liberator of a concentration camp and a survivor who was liberated at the concentration camp. So we're really, really excited about creating an opportunity to show gratitude and for them to speak about how their experiences influence their lives. So more on that.
Thank you so much, Toby, for sharing that. And if anyone's interested in joining, their Vet Cafe is listed on our events calendar as well. I did see your question come in the chat box from Sharon Sanchez. She said that her HVP typically focuses on increasing care education events for veterans at the end of life. Of course, that is the main purpose of the Hospice Veteran Partnership, is to increase education and events and care for veterans at the end of life. But many of our Hospice Veteran Partnerships have evolved into do community events as well. So it's a healthy mix of both. So hopefully that answers your question. And of course, with HVPs, they all vary state and local. So it's perfectly all right with that. And then let's see, another question came in from Anne. She asked, are these updated lists to find local HVPs? So the HVP list is currently the most up-to-date that we have. But of course, if you're having trouble reaching out to someone or you're getting a non-reply back, please let myself know and I'll definitely investigate that for you and make sure that we have the most active and up-to-date list on our roster. No
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that's sort of also at the top of our to-do list for 2021 is to be more active rather than just receptive regarding the HVP roster. Unfortunately, sometimes it is sort of a game. I know I compare things to whack-a-mole, where it's basically just partners reaching out and saying, well, I've been trying to get a hold of this person, but they've unfortunately moved on for that hospice, so they're no longer the chair of the HVP. So in the past, that's sort of the only way that we've found out about, sort of a changing of or handing over of the baton, if the baton actually does get handed over. So we will be sending out just a quick email, probably not a survey. I know that you all are probably all surveyed up by now, but just a quick email with a quick, are you still currently the chair? Please respond with a yes to this, just so we can make sure it's more up to date. There's been I'm sure this isn't a surprise. There's been a lot of staff turnover in the last year. So that also means changes in, the primary contacts and main partner contacts for We Honor Veterans partners. So when they come into the program and they're rolling their sleeves up and trying to dive in and see what they need to be doing and then reach out, unfortunately, they're sort of getting, not a runaround, but they're not getting a response because the contacts aren't up to date. So we're going to do our best to make sure that we're on top of those as well.
Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate it. Another question came in. She said that Chris said that her HVP seems to only have like a call and doing like one big event a year. So she wants to know, how can she get started making her own HVP for her community? So that's awesome that you want to start your own HVP. We highly encourage if you see that it's a need in the area. So if Ed Teo's still on the phone, I want to know if you want to give any advice to Chris on who is interested in starting her new hospice center partnership in her local area.
Yes, coincidentally, Chris, I was just typing an answer to your question. I'll finish it in just a minute, but probably for the first 4 or 5 months, you're going to feel overwhelmed. Say, oh my gosh, this is more than I thought it would be. But once it's up and running, it really is a smooth cycle. I mean, it's very repetitious. And the fact that you have a meeting, I have meetings monthly, and I know some other people have them quarterly. But I caution you to do the quarterly ones because, again, if you don't meet regularly with individuals, they tend to fall off and want to, or just don't come back. If you keep them engaged with events or with webinars, we do monthly webinars and provide education to them. And so they know that every month on the 3rd Thursday of the month at 3 o'clock, there's going to be a webinar by our HVP, and anybody in the nation can sign on, and they learn something. But you don't want to do it alone. You want to start off with 3 or 4 that they can help you achieve what you're wanting to achieve, and that is to bring together the community, VA, and hospices, or better yet, the healthcare industry, to form a coalition or an HVP in order to do what you're wanting to do, and that is to serve veterans and their families. I'd be glad to help you with it. I'd be glad to the information that I've gone through, retain the HVP that we have. So I'll provide my email to you, or if Catherine or Emily want program-wide, that's fine too.
Edward, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. And I was going to ask you, I know that having leadership buy-in from your organization is really important. I'm not sure how much staff initially and also their bosses may know just exactly what they're getting into. So as Ed said, once it's up and running, it's definitely a lot more to handle, but off the bat, it really can take a village, but a village in particular with a village, chief or chiefette in charge of things, just because turnover is such a big thing and you want to make sure that it's sustainable. So I was going to ask Ed what, aside from leadership buy-in, is really important to have as a foundation. But I see he needed to take a phone call, so we'll just give him a couple minutes.
I do see Janine's hand is raised. So if Janine, if you want to unmute yourself, you absolutely can.
So I was just going to throw an answer into that question as well, because I was in kind of a similar situation. We have in Illinois, the Illinois Northern Tier HVP, which sort of encompasses the top half of Illinois. And I live kind of at the state line of Illinois and Wisconsin and in the Rockford area. And there was nothing locally. So I would go to these larger Illinois Northern Tier meetings and kind of said, well, can I just start a smaller version of this out in the Rockford area? So we kind of consider ourselves, we're our own, but we're also sort of a subcommittee of the Northern Tier because we all still participate in that Northern Tier as well. But we just kind of focus on the state line area, then, very northern part of Illinois, with our efforts, our community outreach, our educational opportunities that we provide to healthcare workers in this area. So we kind of, like I said, consider ourselves a little subcommittee falling under that Illinois Northern Tier umbrella, but we do our own things. So that's just, maybe another way to look at it for wherever you are.
That's great advice.
Can I respond to that?
Yes.
Okay. Janine, here in Texas, we have, it's a very large state, obviously, and we only had 2 HVPs to cover the whole state. So we had a similar situation in Austin and in Waco, which are probably 75 and 100 miles from me. And so what we did is we formed coalitions with our sub-organizations to my HVP. So everybody that lived around Austin formed their own little group, and with about 20 different little programs, they formed a coalition, but they still sign in to our HVP. And then the same thing happened in Waco. We helped them form a coalition there, and they have about 15 members that sign on to their coalition. And then all of them sign on to our HVP. So it's doable, and what you're doing is great. I think that's wonderful, because you want to keep people active, and you want to keep them engaged, and you want to keep them encouraged. People are looking for leadership, or people are looking for someone to provide education to them. So continue doing what you're doing. I think that's great.
Thank you so much, Ed, for sharing that insightful information. I'm sure many people will be benefiting from your wisdom. I would like to I also see Leanne Thrapp's hands up, so feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, Emily. Hi, Catherine. Just wanted to a couple comments for Melissa and Chris. I'm in Iowa, and we have 2 VAs here, one in Iowa City and one in Des Moines. And it literally took me almost 3 years to get someone in one of the hospitals interested enough to have a conversation with me. And I kept hearing in the hospice industry, we have meetings, we have meetings, we have meetings. And again, 3 years in, I am just like, well, wherever you're having them in Iowa, it's nowhere near me. And I was in a fairly big city. When I moved to Des Moines a couple years ago, I kept calling and getting the same people. So I decided a different route. And there was the Vision 23, I believe, regional that was going to be leaving. And I called her up before she retired and said, I know there's somebody at the VA that cares about veterans in the community that are getting care provided by us hospices, and we need help with how to care for them so they can die healed. And she gave me the name of a nurse at the hospital, and she's on our committee now. I just also decided that I would have meetings, whether it was 1 person or 10 or 50, I was going to have the meetings, and I did through COVID. I now have a participant from the Iowa City and the Des Moines VA. We just had the Des Moines VA physician speak on trauma-informed care, and we have the Iowa City physician speaking at our summer program. We have quarterly meetings. So what I offer is don't stop, just keep your focus on the veterans that you know need the help and support, and keep trying different phone numbers, different people in the VA, somebody somewhere will care enough to help you. So, and I'd be happy to help as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, thank you, Leanne. See, it does take a village, and that's included We Honor Veterans Partner Village. So just know that, you know, there are other partners out there that have the wisdom and love helping other partners get HVPs going. Ed, I know you said you'd be kind enough to share your email. There's a list of level mentors on the website. And again, many other folks, just like Leanne, are a wealth of information. So don't hesitate to reach out to them as well.
So I think it's almost 4 o'clock. I don't want to take up too much of your time for your day. And I want to say thank you so much for all who attended. And I know Catherine and myself really want to continue this conversation. So just a brief next steps. So we will be updating the HVP toolkit where it's necessary, as well as any other HVP resources as well. Because we want to continue this conversation with everyone and get a gauge on what's going on in our HVP communities. And of course, if you guys are hosting any events, webinars, or educations, feel free to let us know. We have an events calendar. We made that for our partners. Like, that's for you. So feel free to reach out to myself or submit the event on the website. We'll make sure we get it up there for you, for everyone to see and join as well. With that being said, if Catherine has any last words, feel free to say them.
Oh, I just wanted to add,
Yeah.
thank you, Em. I just wanted to add that, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are going to be starting to hold these HVP meetings on an ongoing basis. We're thinking quarterly is sort of a good way to start. I know monthly calls are a little bit too much, so we'll start it out quarterly, maybe at the beginning of July, end of June, but keep your eyes peeled on the We Honor Veterans events calendar, and then we'll send notices out to our partners through NHPCO channels, and then share that info with our VA friends and colleagues as we're to share within their communities.
Well, with that being said, thank you all for attending. If there's no further questions, oh, see, Scott said something. He said, thank you for all you do to care for veterans and their families, all our hospice partners. Partnering with the Department of Veterans Affairs is not without its challenges, but we can overcome these challenges by working together. I definitely agree, Dr. Shreve. Working together is something that Catherine and I both love to do. So I think we encourage all our partners to continue to do that and don't give up. Great. Thank you guys so much again, and hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for putting this on.